This is part 2 of the story. If you haven't watched part 1, go watch it first. Now, let's continue from where we left off. The transition from the magical northern wastes to a rainy street in Seattle didn't feel like a journey, it felt like a violent glitch. One moment, Alex was wrapped in Julian scent and freezing mana. The next, he was face down on a wet sidewalk outside a 24-hour diner, the smell of diesel and old grease filling his lungs. The world collision had been averted. The sky was gray and heavy, not fractured. But for Alex, the world was empty. Alex's return to his old life was a haunting. He sat in his cramped studio apartment, staring at his laptop. The cursor blinked, a steady, rhythmic heartbeat that reminded him of the one he had left behind. His friend, Leo, sat across from him, pushing a plate of lukewarm fries toward him. "Alex, man, you've been staring at that wall for 3 hours," Leo said, his voice laced with concern. "You disappeared for 3 days. The police were about to start a manhunt, and then you just show up in the middle of a storm wearing a bathrobe that looks like it costs more than my car." Alex looked down at the tattered remains of his silk consort robes, now hidden under a generic hoodie. "I told you, Leo. I was away." "Away where? You look like someone died. You look like you died." Alex finally looked at him, his eyes red-rimmed. "I didn't die. I lived. For months, Leo. I lived in a castle made of obsidian. I was married to a man who could kill a god with a look, but he wouldn't sleep unless he was holding my hand." Leo went silent, staring at Alex. "Okay, that's a hell of a hallucination. Was there a gas leak?" "It wasn't a hallucination." Alex's voice cracked. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the only thing he had left. It wasn't magic. It wasn't a jewel. It was the Garfield keychain. He gave this back to me. No, I gave it to him, and then I don't even know anymore. The weeks that followed were a slow torture. Every Monday was a reminder of the keychain and the man who hated them. Every time Alex saw a silver-haired person on the street, his heart would stop, only to shatter when the stranger turned around and wasn't Julian. He tried to write. He tried to turn the novel into a reality on the page, but the words felt like cold ash. One night, Leo found Alex sitting on the floor of his darkened kitchen, drinking red wine straight from the bottle. "It's not the same," Alex whispered, not looking up. "The wine?" Leo asked softly, sitting on the floor beside him. "The taste? It's just fermented juice. It doesn't have the spark. Everything here is so quiet, Leo. There's no magic humming in the walls. There's no one threatening to execute the barista for getting my name wrong." Alex let out a wet, jagged laugh. "I miss being a Capri Sun. I miss being told I'm a high-level candlestick monk. I miss the way he looked at me like I was the only fixed point in a chaotic universe." "Alex," Leo said, putting a hand on his shoulder. "You're grieving. I don't know where you went, or what you saw, but you're grieving a ghost." "He's not a ghost," Alex snapped, his voice echoing in the small kitchen. "He's out there. In another layer of reality, he's sitting on that throne, and he's alone. He's cold, Leo. He's so cold without me." Alex began to lose sleep. He spent his nights researching quantum physics, occult rituals, and even Starstone legends. He was desperate for a glitch, a rift, anything. He was standing on his balcony, looking out at the city lights, when a familiar blue light flickered in the corner of his eye. System notification. Anomaly detected in Sector 7. Alex froze. "Is that you? Answer me." The screen appeared, hovering over the railing of his balcony. It was glitchy, the text flickering between English and the ancient script of the Empire. "Error. Soul bond persists. The Emperor refuses to close the file. Data leak imminent." "What does that mean?" Alex shouted at the empty air. "Is he okay? Tell me if Julian is okay." The system flickered violently. "User Julian ID. Nightbringer has breached the second wall. He is searching for the Garfield source code. Warning, If the Emperor crosses, both worlds will collapse. Alex felt a chill that had nothing to do with the Seattle wind. Julian was trying to tear his way through. Julian was going to destroy his own world just to find a world with Alex in it. No, Alex whispered, tears streaming down his face. Julian, you idiot. You'll kill yourself. Alex grabbed his notebook. He realized the system wasn't a machine, it was a narrative. And he was a writer. If I can't go to him, and he can't come to me without breaking the world, then I have to change the story, Alex said to the darkness. He sat down at his desk, his hands shaking. He looked at the Garfield keychain, the plastic orange cat staring back at him with its trademark apathy. You want a story, you stupid system. Alex hissed. I'll give you a sequel. I'll give you a plot twist you can't delete. He began to write. He wrote about the hidden chapter. He wrote about a doorway that didn't require a star stone, but a sacrifice of memory. Leo. Alex called out, his voice filled with a terrifying, bright hope. Leo ran into the room. What happened? I know how to get back, Alex said, his eyes glowing with a faint, reflected purple light. But if I do this, I won't just be Alex from Seattle anymore. I'll be a permanent part of that world. I'll never see a skyscraper again. I'll never have another burger. I'll be his, forever. Leo looked at his friend, really looked at him. He saw the way Alex's soul seemed to be leaning toward a world Leo couldn't see. You were never really here after you came back anyway, man, Leo said, a sad smile on his face. Go find your vampire. Just tell him if he ever hurts you, I'll find a way to transmigrate there and kick his ass with a candlestick. Alex laughed, a real, vibrant sound. He'd probably like that. He's a bit of a freak. Alex turned back to the screen. The blue light was blinding now. Julian, Alex whispered, his hand reaching into the light. Wait for me. Your snack is coming home. The celestial timing couldn't have been worse. It was a cosmic comedy of errors that would have made a system developer weep. In Seattle, Alex stood before a swirling vortex of blue binary code in his kitchen. Leo stood by the toaster, wiping a stray tear with his sleeve. Go on, you dramatic disaster, Leo laughed, his voice cracking. Go be a juice box for your Bat King. I'll tell the landlord you joined a cult. It's technically true. Thanks, Leo. For everything, Alex said, clutching his notebook. With a final, brave leap, he dove into the light. At that exact microsecond, in the Obsidian Empire, a massive rift of purple shadow tore open in the middle of the throne room. Julian stood before a shimmering gateway, his silver hair windswept by the interdimensional pressure. Standing next to him was William, the High Archivist and the only vampire in the Empire who actually read books instead of burning them. William was the cold calculation to Julian's possessive rage. The coordinates are locked, Your Majesty, William said, his voice as dry as a desert. But I must warn you, the Seattle realm is high in caffeine and low in dignity. Are you prepared? I don't care if the air is poison, Julian growled, clutching the Garfield keychain. I am bringing him back. Step through. They jumped. Thump. Alex tumbled out of the sky and landed face first on the cold, stone floor of the Obsidian throne room. He scrambled up, shaking off the glitter of the portal. Julian, I'm back. He looked around. The room was empty. Only a few confused bats chirped in the rafters. Julian. Jules. Sparky. Thump crash. Back in Seattle, Julian and William landed directly on top of Leo's IKEA coffee table, shattering it into 100 particle board pieces. Leo stared. Standing in his living room were two men who looked like they had just escaped a high-budget gothic metal music video. One was the terrifyingly handsome Julian, who was currently trying to strangle a floor lamp. The other was a tall, pale man in spectacles and a high-collared black coat, looking at a bag of Doritos with profound disgust. Alex. Julian roared, his fangs snapping out. Where is the consort? I smell his scent, but the room is empty. Leo's jaw hit the floor. He looked at Julian, terrifying, then he looked at William. William was adjusted his glasses, his expression one of pure, icy disdain as he stepped over the broken table. He looked at Leo, who was wearing a "I heart tacos" t-shirt and messy bed head, and curled his lip. Oh no, Leo thought, his heart doing a frantic tap dance. He's a cold, strict, beautiful jerk. He's exactly my type. Who are you, tiny human? William asked, his voice like velvet over ice. And why is your dwelling filled with the smell of processed chemicals and sadness? I'm Leo, Leo stuttered, suddenly very aware that he hadn't showered. And you must be the trouble. He is not here, Julian hissed, pacing the apartment like a caged tiger. The scent is fresh, but the soul bond is pulling toward the horizon, toward my world. We missed him. Indeed, William sighed, taking out a silk handkerchief to wipe Seattle dust off his sleeve. We have traded places like common characters in a farce. We must wait for the portal to recharge. It will take 3 days. 3 days. Julian punched a wall. His fist went right through the drywall. This cave is made of paper. Hey, my security deposit, Leo cried. He looked at William, who was staring at the microwave as if it were an ancient demon. Look, guys, Alex is my best friend. If he went there to find you, he's safe. But you can't go around punching walls. You're staying here. I'll teach you how to be normal. I do not wish to be normal, William snapped, looking at Leo. I wish to be in a library that doesn't contain a book titled 101 Ways to Cook Ramen. You are a bold, loud, and remarkably disorganized creature, Leo. Do not touch me. Challenge accepted, Mr. Grumpy Pants, Leo smirked. The next 48 hours were a disaster. Lesson 1. The fridge. No, Julian, that is not a blood storage unit. That's strawberry jam, Leo shouted. Julian tasted it. It is sugary filth. Why do humans eat red things that do not scream? It's for toast. Just sit down and watch Netflix. Lesson 2. Modern fashion. Leo forced William into a pair of his spare sweatpants and a hoodie. William looked like he was being tortured. This garment has no structure, William complained, poking the fleece. I feel like I am being hugged by a very cheap sheep. And why does it say, property of Seattle Pizza, on the back? Because it's comfy. You look cute, Leo winked. William's eyes flashed red. I am a High Archivist of the night. I am not cute. You are a troublemaker of the highest order. Go away before I turn your brain into a bookmark. Lesson 3. The vacuum. Julian tried to duel the vacuum cleaner because it hissed at him. It is a beast of metal and wind. Julian shouted, cape flying as he stood on the sofa. It's a Dyson, Jules. It just wants your cat hair, cape. Fluff. Leo sighed. Late that night, Julian stood on the balcony, staring at the neon signs. He looked small without his crown. He's okay, you know, Leo said, stepping out. Alex is tough. He probably has your whole court organized by now. He was not supposed to come back, Julian whispered. I wanted to save him from the dark. I didn't realize he was the light. Inside, William was sitting at the kitchen table, stiffly reading a chemistry textbook Leo had given him. Leo sat down across from him. You know, for a guy who hates trouble, you're pretty good at following me around with your eyes, Leo teased. William didn't look up. I am observing a biological anomaly. Your heart rate increases by 15% whenever I enter the room. It is inefficient and annoying. Maybe I just like the view, Leo shrugged. William finally looked up, his icy blue eyes meeting Leo's. For a second, the cold archivist mask slipped. You are a chaotic, irritating, beautiful mess of a human, Leo. If we were in the Empire, I would have locked you in the archives just to keep the world quiet. Is that your version of a pickup line? Leo grinned. It is a warning, William whispered, leaning in just a fraction of an inch. Do not make me like this world. I have books to protect. Suddenly, the Garfield keychain in Julian's pocket began to glow bright green. The portal, Julian shouted. It's opening. Alex is calling. But as the rift opened in the middle of the kitchen, a message appeared in the air. System error. Multiple users in wrong sectors. To stabilize reality, all users must be in the same room within 60 seconds or be deleted. Wait. Leo grabbed William's hand. If you go, I'm coming too. I'm not letting you go back to being a lonely book bat. You would leave your tacos and pizza for a cold dungeon. William asked, stunned. I'd leave it for you, Leo said. Julian grabbed them both. Stop flirting. We're jumping. The return to the Obsidian Empire was not a graceful landing. It was a high-velocity cluster physics disaster. In the Grand Throne Room, Alex had just finished organizing the Royal Guards into a neighborhood watch program when the ceiling literally ripped open. A tangle of limbs, black silk, and gray sweatpants fell through the rift, crashing directly into the long dining table prepared for a solitary, grieving dinner. Smash! Alex dived behind a pillar as roasted meats and silver platters flew everywhere. When the dust settled, the scene was pure chaos. Julian was pinned under a pile of broken wood, still clutching a half-eaten bag of Seattle jerky. William was sprawled across the floor, his glasses lopsided, with Leo, who was still wearing his "I Heart Tacos" shirt, firmly latched onto his waist like a human backpack. Julian! Alex screamed, running forward. You went to Seattle. Why are you covered in, is that drywall dust? Julian scrambled up, looking like a disgraced god. Alex! You came back. I went to your Star Stone realm to find you, and I found this loud, tiny creature instead. He pointed a shaking finger at Leo. Hey, I saved your life from the vacuum cleaner, you overgrown bat. Leo shouted, finally letting go of William. He looked around the Obsidian room, his eyes bulging. Holy, Alex, you weren't kidding. This place is like a goth's Pinterest board on steroids. Alex ignored him and lunged at Julian, wrapping his arms around the Emperor's neck. You idiot. I hacked a literal interdimensional system to get back to you, and you were busy breaking my coffee table. I would have broken the sun to find you, Julian growled, his voice dropping into that dark, possessive tone Alex knew so well. He buried his face in Alex's neck, breathing in the scent of home. But why do you smell like cheap coffee and desperation? That's just Seattle, Jules. It lingers. Meanwhile, William was trying to stand up with some shred of dignity. He adjusted his spectacles and looked at the crowd of royal guards who were staring at him in shock. Archivist William, the lead guard whispered, why are you wearing gray leg coverings made of soft, fuzzy wool? And what is a property of Seattle pizza? William's face turned a shade of red that matched his eyes. It is a ritualistic garment of the Upper West Sector. Silence, or I shall have you catalogued in the insignificant wing of the library. Leo hopped over, slumping an arm around William's shoulder. Chill out, Will. It's called athleisure. You look great. Very. I just worked out, but also I'm a vampire lord. William stiffened, looking like he wanted to evaporate. Leo, release me. We are back in my domain. I have a reputation to maintain as a cold, unfeeling intellectual. Too late, Alex chimed in, smirking as he stepped back from Julian. I saw you holding his hand during the jump, William. I didn't know the High Archivist liked troublemakers from the Pacific Northwest. It was a mechanical necessity for stability. William snapped, though his ears were definitely pink. The drama moved to the private dining hall, where the two couples sat across from each other. The tension was thick enough to cut with a silver dagger. So, Julian said, staring at Leo. This human says he is your best friend. He also tried to feed me something called a Twinkie. It felt like eating a sweetened sponge filled with chemical lies. Twinkies are a delicacy, you snob. Leo defended, mouth full of actual royal grapes. And Alex, we need to talk about your husband's anger issues. He tried to duel my Roomba. He thought it was a mechanical spy sent by the Dust Kingdom. Alex snorted into his wine. Julian, honey, the Roomba just wants to clean. It moved with intent, Alex. Julian barked. It was circling my ankles. It wanted my blood. Anyway, Leo leaned in, looking at William. Now that I'm here, I need a job. William says I can't be a guard because I lack discipline, and scream too much when I see spiders. I said you are a liability to the state, William corrected calmly, sipping his blood wine. However, the south wing of the library is currently unorganized. I suppose I could keep you there. Under constant, 24-hour supervision. 24 hours, huh? Leo winked. Is there a bed in the library? Or do we just sleep on the encyclopedias? William choked on his wine, coughing violently. There is no, we do not. The archives are for knowledge, you insufferable boy. Julian's eyes flickered to Alex. Alex, now that the portal is closed and the system is stabilized, you realize you are never leaving again. I will have the mages weld the space-time continuum shut. Bit extreme, don't you think? Alex smiled, reaching over to pat Julian's hand. No, Julian whispered, leaning in, his fangs grazing Alex's ear. I spent 3 days in a world without your scent. I had to sleep in a studio apartment, on a pull-out couch. The indignity alone was enough to fuel a century of war. You are staying here, in my bed, every night. Whoa, TMI, Bat King. Leo shouted from across the table. We're eating here. You, Julian pointed at Leo. If you do not stop talking, I will send you back to Seattle with nothing but a bag of those Doritos you seem to worship. Leo looked at William, then back at Julian. He smiled widely. Nah, I like it here. The fashion is better, the wine is stronger, and, he nudged William, the librarians are way hotter. William sighed, the long, suffering sigh of a man who knew his quiet life was officially over. Julian, we are going to need more candles, and perhaps a sedative for the human. As the sun set over the Obsidian capital, the four of them stood on the balcony. For a moment, it was peaceful. Then, Alex's pocket buzzed. He pulled out his phone, which shouldn't have worked here. The screen flickered to life. It wasn't a text from Leo. It was a video call. The face on the screen was the original Alex from Las Vegas. He looked panicked, and behind him, the neon lights of the Flamingo Hotel were turning into purple shadow. Other me. Vegas, Alex shouted. The portal didn't just move you guys, it left a door open. Something is coming through from the void sector. It looks like a giant, dark version of Julian. Julian leaned over Alex's shoulder, his eyes narrowing. That's not a shadow. That's my original novel persona. The one that was supposed to kill the consort. The original Novel Julian was looming in the interdimensional distance like a thunderstorm of bad vibes, but inside the Obsidian Palace, the primary crisis wasn't the apocalypse, it was Leo's pride. While the fate of two worlds hung by a thread, the individual rooms of the palace were theaters of very different kinds of warfare. Julian had decided that if the world was going to end, he was going to spend the countdown exactly where he belonged, with his face buried in Alex's neck. Julian, we should really be looking at that video from Vegas, Alex. Alex gasped, his back pressed against the heavy velvet headboard. Julian's hands were like iron, possessive, warm, and currently busy unlacing Alex's silk tunic. The original, me can wait, Julian growled, his eyes glowing a deep, hungry crimson. He is a figment of a discarded plot. I am the one who has to deal with your Seattle friend for the rest of eternity. I deserve a reward for my patience. You weren't patient. You broke my coffee table. A minor sacrifice. Julian leaned in, his fangs grazing the pulse point at Alex's throat. Alex, tell me you're not going back. Tell me this is the final chapter. I'm here, Jules, Alex whispered, his fingers tangling in Julian's silver hair. I hacked the universe for you. I'm not. Bam, bam. Bam! The heavy oak doors didn't just rattle, they practically groaned under the force of someone kicking them. Alex, open up. I'm deploying the nuclear option. Julian froze. His aura flared, turning the room 10 degrees colder. I am going to throw that human off the battlements. I am going to do it right now. Alex scrambled to fix his robes as the door flew open. Leo marched in, looking absolutely disheveled. His "I heart tacos" shirt was inside out, and he was vibrating with pure, unadulterated frustration. Rule number 1 of the Best Friend Handbook. Leo shouted, pointing a finger at a murderous-looking Julian. If I am suffering, everyone is suffering. No romance. No neck-biting. No Obsidian throne, extracurriculars until my situation is handled. Leo, what happened? Alex asked, trying to hide his blush. Did William try to catalog you again? Worse. Leo threw himself onto the end of the royal bed, right over Julian's legs. He's a Sigma male, Alex. A total, cold-blooded, library-dwelling Sigma. I tried everything. I wore the silk robe you lent me, the one that's basically just 3 strings and a prayer, and do you know what he did? Julian's eye twitched. He executed you. Please tell me he executed you. He looked at me, Leo wailed, and said, Leo, your core body temperature is dropping. Please put on a sweater so you don't smudge the ink on this 14th century ledger. He didn't even blink, Alex. I gave him my best smoldering look, and he asked if I had pink eye. Julian stood up, towering over Leo. Human, leave. This is my private chamber. I have spent 3 days in a world with no magic. And too much rain. If you do not leave, I will turn you into a decorative coat rack. Leo didn't even flinch. He looked Julian dead in the eye. Kill me. Do it. It'll be more attention than William gave me in the last 4 hours. But if I stay alive, and you want another second of intimacy with my best friend, you are going to help me. Help you with what? Alex asked cautiously. Operation Break the Librarian, Leo declared. You two are the experts on hopelessly in love. Julian is so obsessed with you he literally crossed dimensions. I want that. I want William to look at a book and see my face. I want him to trip over his own feet when I walk by. And until he does, I am sleeping right here. Between the two of you. Julian let out a sound that was half hiss, half sob. Alex, tell him no. Alex looked at Leo's pouty face, then at Julian's desperate one. He sighed. Jules, he's my best friend. And honestly, seeing William lose his cool would be pretty funny. It would be a masterpiece. Leo added. Julian sat back down on the bed, defeated by the power of friendship. Fine. What is the plan? Do we drug him with a love potion? I have several in the dungeon that cause permanent obsession. No. Alex and Leo said in unison. It has to be real, Leo insisted. I want to see the Sigma-Crumble. I want to see the Archivist burn his ledgers for a hug. We need to create a scenario where he thinks I'm in danger, or where he's forced to admit I'm the most important anomaly in his life. William doesn't react to danger, Julian noted helpfully. He once read a book through a dragon attack. He only cares about order, logic, and ancient history. Then we attack his logic, Alex said, his writer brain clicking into gear. We make Leo a mystery he can't solve. We stop the chasing. Leo, from tomorrow, you don't seduce him. You ignore him. You spend all your time with the royal guards. You act like he's just a boring old book. Leo smirked. The cold shoulder method. I love it. But Julian has to play along. He has to pretend he's appointing me as the special advisor to the throne, or something. Give me some status. Julian groaned, rubbing his temples. I will give you whatever title you want as long as it gets you out of my bedroom. You are now the Grand Duke of Annoyance. Now, get out. Leo skipped to the door, feeling rejuvenated. Thanks, guys. Operation Sigma-Crumble starts at dawn. Oh, and Julian. Julian looked up, looking ready to snap. What? Alex told me you're ticklish under your left arm. If you don't help me, I'm telling the entire council of vampires. Leo slammed the door shut before Julian could reach for his sword. Julian turned to Alex, his expression one of pure, exhausted heartbreak. Alex, why did we come back? We could have lived in your apartment. We could have hidden from the system. Why did we bring the chaos with us? Alex laughed, pulling Julian back down into the furs. Because, Your Majesty, life without chaos is just a boring book. And I think the Grand Duke of Annoyance is about to give William the shock of his immortal life. Julian grumbled, pulling the covers over their heads. If William falls in love, I am charging him double for the wedding. Now, silence. No more Leo talk. Just stay. The sun rose over the Obsidian capital, but the atmosphere in the High Library was colder than a vampire's refrigerator. Operation Sigma-Crumble was officially in effect, and the air was thick with the scent of old parchment and Leo's newfound indifference. William sat at his elevated mahogany desk, his posture as straight as a ruler. He was cataloging a series of 12th-century scrolls, but his quill hadn't moved in 5 minutes. His eyes kept flicking toward the corner of the library, where Leo usually sat and hummed annoying pop songs. Today, the corner was empty. Suddenly, the heavy library doors swung open. Leo walked in, but he wasn't wearing the silk robes or the "I heart tacos" shirt. He was dressed in a tailored, midnight blue doublet provided by Julian, looking suspiciously like a nobleman. And he wasn't alone. He was flanked by Commander Kalen and 2 other incredibly fit, incredibly handsome royal guards. And then, Leo was saying, letting out a bright, melodic laugh that echoed through the silent hall, the Roomba just kept hitting his shins. You should have seen the Emperor's face, Kalen. It was gold. Kalen chuckled, his hand resting casually on Leo's shoulder. You have lived a strange life, Lord Leo. I find your tales of electrical domestic beasts fascinating. Perhaps you could tell me more over training drills. William's quill snapped in his hand. Snap. Leo didn't even look toward the desk. He walked right past William, the scent of expensive citrus cologne trailing behind him. Oh, absolutely. I've always wanted to see how you guys handled those big swords. William stood up, his chair screeching against the stone floor. Leo. Leo stopped, slowly turning his head with an expression of mild boredom. Oh, High Archivist. I didn't see you there behind that mountain of dusty paper. Did you need something? A refill on your ink? A nap? William's jaw tightened. You're 3 hours late for your filing duties. And the South Wing is still a disaster of unalphabetized alchemy texts. Leo checked his fingernails. Yeah, see, about that. Julian, I mean, His Imperial Majesty, has appointed me as the special liaison for interdimensional relations. My schedule is slammed, Will. Kalen here was just showing me the armory. Very high priority stuff. Kalen nodded respectfully toward William. Archivist. Lord Leo is a natural with a crossbow. We were just going to the gardens for private instruction. William's eyes flashed a dangerous, icy violet. Private. The gardens are a public thoroughfare of the crown. And Leo has the coordination of a newborn fawn. He will put an eye out. Hey. Leo pouted, finally looking at William. I am a high-level candlestick monk, remember. I have skills you haven't even seen yet. I have seen enough to know you require supervision, William hissed, stepping down from his dais. He walked toward them, his long black robe sweeping the floor like a dark cloud. Commander, I believe the Emperor requested a perimeter check on the east wall. Immediately. Kalen looked confused. He did. I just saw him in the hallway and he told me to take the day off because he didn't want anyone interrupting his nap. Leo smothered a laugh. Good job, Julian, he thought. William was now standing inches from Leo, his height casting a shadow over the troublemaker. He looked at Kalen's hand, which was still on Leo's shoulder. The east wall, Commander, William repeated, his voice dropping to a frequency that made the windows rattle. Kalen took the hint. Right. East wall. Got it. See you later, Leo. As the guards scurried out, Leo turned to follow them. Well, better get going. Duty calls. Stay, William commanded. It wasn't a request. Leo stopped, his back to William. He leaned against a bookshelf, trying to keep his heart from thumping out of his chest. Why? Are you going to tell me my biochemical readings are annoying again? William moved behind him, leaning one hand against a shelf, effectively trapping Leo. Why are you dressed like a duke? And why were you touching that guard? His armor is covered in oil. You'll ruin the fabric. Kalen is nice, Leo said, turning around so he was face to face with the cold vampire. He listens to my stories. He doesn't treat me like a biological anomaly. He treats me like a person he might want to date. William leaned in, his silver hair brushing Leo's forehead. His Sigma composure was melting into something much more volatile, insecurity. He is a common soldier, William whispered. He cannot appreciate the complexities of your vibrant personality. He wouldn't understand the system, or the Vegas, or the way you look when you're frustrated. And you do. Leo challenged, his voice shaky. You spend all day with dead people's diaries, Will. You like things that are silent and organized. I'm loud and messy. Why do you even care who I spend time with? William's hand gripped the shelf so hard the wood groaned. Because the library is too quiet without you. He suddenly burst out, the words erupting like a dam breaking. Leo blinked. What? I cannot focus. William shouted, his usual calm replaced by a frantic, high-strung energy. I read the same page 6 times because I am waiting for you to hum that ridiculous song about butter. I look at the door every time it opens, hoping it is you coming in to spill tea on a first edition manuscript. You are a chaos element, Leo. You have infected my logic. Leo felt a surge of triumph. Oh, so you like the infection. William looked down at Leo's lips, then back at his eyes. He looked absolutely miserable. I hate it. It is the most illogical, dangerous, and time-consuming emotion I have ever catalogued. Well, Leo said, reaching up to tug on William's high collar, pulling him down. Maybe you should stop analyzing it and start experiencing it. Meanwhile, behind a nearby tapestry, 2 sets of eyes were watching the whole scene. See, Alex whispered, holding his breath. I told you the cold shoulder would work. Look at William's hand. He's literally shaking. Julian was crouched next to him, looking bored but curious. He is being very dramatic. If I want something, I simply take it. Why is he talking so much? He should just bite the boy and be done with it. Jules, shish. This is romance. This is the slow burn. It is a slow waste of time, Julian grumbled, though he didn't move. But I must admit, the Grand Duke of Annoyance has a certain power over the Archivist. I have never seen William's hair so messy. Suddenly, in the library, William let out a frustrated growl and finally, crashed his lips against Leo's. Leo let out a muffled, MMPH. Of surprise before melting into the kiss, his hands wandering into William's perfectly styled hair and making a complete mess of it. Yes, Leo yelled into the kiss, pulling back for a second. Take that, Sigma male. Be quiet, William groaned, blushing furiously as he pulled Leo back in. I am trying to be impulsive. Behind the tapestry, Alex turned to Julian with a huge grin. Mission accomplished. Now we can finally go back to our room and… System notification. Warning. The blue screen flickered into existence between them, glowing neon bright in the dark corner. Anomaly, Evil Julian, has breached the city gates. Plot armor, critical. Romance levels, distracting. Defenses, 0. Alex's face went pale. Oh no. Julian, the original, you is here. And he looks like he's in a really bad mood. Julian stood up, his playful mood vanishing as his aura turned into a freezing shadow. He pulled Alex behind him. Let him come. He might be the original, but I'm the one with the high-level candlestick monk, and a very angry librarian on my side. The sky over the Obsidian capital didn't just turn dark, it turned into a bruised, flickering purple. The original Novel Julian didn't walk through the gates, he tore through the fabric of reality, bringing with him the cold, hollow draft of a story where love never existed. This version of Julian was taller, his eyes not a warm crimson but a flat, murderous scarlet. He wore the heavy, jagged armor of the tyrant, and carried a blade made of literal frozen screams. The two couples, Julian and Alex, William and Leo, stood on the battlements, looking down at the shadow version of their world. "He looks like me," Julian whispered, his hand tightening on Alex's waist. "But he smells like nothing. Like paper and ink. Because he is the plot," Alex said, his writer's intuition screaming. "He's the version of you that followed the script. The one who killed the consort in Chapter 10. The evil Julian looked up, his voice echoing like 1,000 falling stones. "Glitch. Anomaly. The consort must die. The story must reset. Over my dead body, you ink-stained knockoff," Leo shouted, clutching a heavy iron book he'd grabbed from the library. William stood beside him, his silver hair windswept, his eyes glowing with a protective ferocity that would have made a dragon flinch. The fight was a blur of shadow and steel. Julian leapt from the battlements, clashing blades with his original self. The impact sent a shockwave through the city, shattering windows for miles. "You are weak," the evil Julian roared, his voice devoid of emotion. "You chose a human over a kingdom. You traded your immortality for a snack that will wither and die." "He is not a snack," Julian roared back, his wings unfurling in a burst of dark mana. "He is my heart, and I'd rather die immortal with him than live an eternity as a hollow statue like you." While the two emperors traded blows that leveled buildings, the system began to glitch. The ground beneath them turned into binary code, and trees began to pixelate into nothingness. As the evil Julian prepared a final, world-ending strike, the system screen appeared before Alex. "Critical error. Dual-core conflict. To delete the original plot, a permanent sacrifice of origin data is required." Alex realized what it meant. The origin data was the connection to their old worlds. To kill the evil Julian, someone had to sever their link to the real world forever. No more memories of Seattle. No more Garfield keychains. No more "I heart tacos" shirts. "Alex, look out!" Leo screamed. The evil Julian had bypassed Julian's guard and was diving straight for Alex. But it wasn't Julian who moved first. William, the cold, strict Sigma who supposedly only cared about books, threw himself in front of the blade. The sword of screams pierced William's shoulder. The archivist gasped, his knees hitting the stone. "William!" Leo's scream was raw, echoing across the plaza. He ran forward, ignoring the falling debris, and caught William before he hit the ground. "You idiot!" Leo sobbed, pressing his hands against William's wound. "You're an archivist. You're supposed to stay in the back. Why did you do that?" William looked up at Leo, his glasses cracked, a faint, bloody smile on his lips. "It was, logically, the only option. Your heart rate. I couldn't let it stop. I don't care about logic." Leo wailed. "Stay with me. Don't you dare turn into a ghost." Julian, seeing his friend fall and his lover threatened, let out a primal scream. He grabbed the Garfield keychain, the last physical link to Alex's world, and crushed it in his fist. "I renounce the origin," Julian shouted. "I renounce the script. I am not your puppet." The power released from the broken relic was blinding. It wasn't magic, it was free will. The golden light of Alex's love and Julian's defiance merged into a spear of pure energy. Julian drove the spear into the evil Julian's chest. The tyrant didn't bleed, he dissolved into thousands of black pages, fluttering away into the wind like burnt ash. Plot deleted. System rebooting. New narrative established. The Freedom Chronicles. The purple sky cleared. The binary code on the ground turned back into solid stone. But the air was heavy with the scent of tragedy. The aftermath. Alex ran to the group. William was pale, his eyes fluttering. Leo was cradling his head, tears dripping onto William's chest. Is he? Alex whispered, his voice trembling. Julian knelt beside them, placing a hand on William's wound. His eyes were soft, filled with a grief that spanned centuries. He is a vampire, Alex. He will not die so easily, but he has given up his connection to the library. He saved us, but he lost his immortality of knowledge. He's just William now. William opened his eyes slowly, looking at the crying boy holding him. Leo, stop that. Your face is remarkably unattractive when you're leaking fluid. Leo let out a wet laugh, half sobbing. Shut up, you stuck-up book bat. You're stuck with me now. No more Sigma male excuses. You're officially my trouble forever. William reached up, his hand shaking, and tucked a strand of hair behind Leo's ear. I suppose the archives can wait. I have a more interesting anomaly to study. Julian stood up and pulled Alex into his arms. They looked out over the city. It was scarred, broken, but the sun was rising, a real sun, not a programmed one. It's over, Alex said, leaning his head on Julian's chest. The system is gone. We're just us. Not just us, Julian whispered, kissing the top of Alex's head. We are the kings of a world without a script. And I think, he looked over at Leo and the wounded William, we're going to have a very loud, very annoying family. Alex laughed, the sound carrying over the Obsidian spires. The Grand Duke of Annoyance is going to be the death of us, Jules. Perhaps, Julian smiled, his fangs glinting in the light. But it's a death I'm willing to wait a lifetime for. The Obsidian capital was no longer a place of cold shadows and silent dread. For the first time in 3,000 years, the spires were draped in banners of emerald silk and Seattle sky blue. The double wedding of the century had arrived, and the system was nowhere to be found, only the chaotic, beautiful heartbeat of four people who had broken reality to be together. In the royal dressing suite, Alex was trying to keep Leo from hyperventilating into a velvet cushion. Leo, stop. You're going to wrinkle the tunic. Alex laughed, adjusting the silver embroidery on his own white and gold doublet. I can't help it. Leo wailed, his hair a mess of blonde curls. I'm marrying a man who literally corrected the grammar on our wedding invitations, Alex. What if I trip? What if I say, I do, and he says, incorrect? The proper response is I concur. He loves you, Leo, Alex said, grabbing his friend's shoulders. He gave up his immortality of knowledge for you. He's just a man now, a very grumpy, very handsome man who happens to think you're the center of the universe. Yeah, Leo sniffled, a huge grin breaking across his face. He is pretty obsessed, isn't he? The ceremony took place in the glass-domed royal conservatory. Julian stood at the altar, looking like a literal god in black dragon scale armor, his silver hair flowing over his shoulders. Beside him stood William, looking sharp and severe in a high-collared charcoal suit, though his hands were trembling slightly as he adjusted his spectacles. As the music, a strange, beautiful mix of imperial harps and a soft piano melody Alex had taught the court musicians, began, the doors opened. Alex and Leo walked down the aisle together. Alex looked like a prince of light, his eyes fixed solely on Julian. Leo, true to form, winked at Commander Kalen in the front row before locking eyes with William. When they reached the altar, Julian didn't wait for the priest to speak. He stepped forward and took Alex's hands, his thumbs brushing over Alex's knuckles. I used to think the stars were just cold lights in a scripted sky. Julian's voice resonated through the hall, thick with emotion. Then you fell from them. You broke my world, Alex, and in the ruins, you showed me how to breathe. I am yours, past, present, and every unwritten future. Alex's voice was a whisper, but it carried to the back of the room. I hacked the universe to find you, Jules. I'd do it 1,000 times more. You're my home. Beside them, William looked at Leo. The Sigma was gone, there was only a man deeply in love. Leo, you are a biological anomaly, a chaotic variable, and a constant headache. And I find that I cannot imagine a single page of my life without your smudge on it. I choose the trouble. I choose you. Leo let out a wet laugh. I concur, Mr. Archivist. Now kiss me before I start a riot. The reception was a blur of blood wine, laughter, and Leo teaching the vampire nobility how to do the electric slide. Julian and Alex shared a quiet dance in the corner, Julian's chin resting on Alex's head. Are you happy, my star? Julian murmured. More than happy, Alex breathed. I'm free. William and Leo were found later in the library, of course, sharing a stolen cupcake. William had a smudge of frosting on his nose, and Leo was laughing so hard he nearly fell off a ladder. For the first time, the library felt warm. The couples departed to the Fortress of Frost, which had been transformed into a tropical paradise through a localized weather spell, Julian's wedding gift to Alex. In the master suite, the air was thick with the scent of jasmine and the low hum of Julian's mana. Julian pinned Alex against the balcony railing, the moonlight catching the silver of his hair. Finally, Julian growled, his voice a low vibration against Alex's skin. He didn't just kiss Alex, he claimed him. His hands, usually so careful, were hungry, roaming over the silk of Alex's robes before finding the warm skin beneath. As they moved to the bed, the intimacy was no longer about a consort and an emperor. It was the slow, rhythmic dance of two souls who had survived an apocalypse. Julian's fangs grazed Alex's neck, not to draw blood, but to leave a mark that said mine. Every touch was a silent vow. When Alex pulled Julian closer, whispering his name into the dark, the Emperor felt a surge of heat that no star stone could ever match. It was a night of soft sighs, tangled limbs, and a love that was finally, truly, its own master. In the neighboring wing, things were louder. William, if you quote one more poem about ethereal beauty, I am going to throw this pillow at you. Leo's laughter echoed through the room. William had Leo pinned to the furs, his glasses discarded on the nightstand. His cold exterior had completely melted, replaced by a fierce, focused passion. I am not quoting, Leo. I am observing. The way your pulse quickens when I touch your waist, it is a fascinating study. Shut up and study me then, Leo smirked, pulling William's head down. Their intimacy was a revelation. For William, who had spent centuries behind books, the reality of Leo's skin, warm, smooth, and vibrant, was the greatest discovery of his life. He explored Leo with a meticulous, reverent touch, memorizing every curve and every gasp. Leo, in turn, stripped away William's lingering hesitation, his bold energy igniting a fire in the vampire that neither had expected. It was a night of firsts, filled with the kind of messy, beautiful passion that only a troublemaker could inspire in a Sigma. As dawn broke over the new empire, the four of them sat on the terrace, watching the sun rise. So, Leo said, leaning his head on William's shoulder while eating a leftover wedding croissant. What's next? Any more evil twins? World-ending glitches? Ancient curses? Julian looked at Alex, then at his friends. He smiled, a real, relaxed smile. No, I think we've had enough plot twists for one lifetime. I don't know, Alex teased, leaning into Julian. I was thinking of writing a sequel. I'll call it, The Emperor's Husband and the Librarian's Headache. I'd read that, William muttered, pulling Leo closer. I'd live it, Julian whispered, kissing Alex's temple. And as the credits of their old lives rolled away, they realized that the best stories aren't the ones that are written for you, they're the ones you dare to write yourself. The final chapter of the Obsidian Chronicles didn't begin with a battle or a glitch, but with a scent, the scent of rain and starlight that Julian noticed clinging to Alex more intensely than ever before. In the heart of the Golden Pavilion, the High Physician, a vampire who had seen 5 dynasties, bowed so low his forehead touched the marble. Your Imperial Majesty, the physician's voice trembled with awe. The miracle of the starfall has manifested. The consort is with child. The palace went silent. In this world, the union of high-level magic and a transmigrated soul often created life essence that transcended biology. For a vampire emperor, a biological heir was a legendary rarity. Julian didn't speak. He simply crossed the room in a blur of shadow, dropping to his knees before Alex's chair. He pressed his forehead against Alex's stomach, his hands shaking as they rested on Alex's hips. "A life," Julian whispered, his voice cracking with a joy so sharp it was almost painful. "Our life. Alex. I will build a new world just for them to walk in." Alex laughed, tears pricking his eyes as he ran his fingers through Julian's silver hair. "I knew it was possible here, Jules. The system mentioned a legacy protocol before it deleted itself. I just didn't think it would happen so fast." While the palace erupted in celebrations, Leo was found sitting in the middle of the library floor, surrounded by anatomy books and magical scrolls, looking like he'd been hit by a truck. "How?" Leo muttered for the 40th time that hour. "Alex is a guy. I'm a guy. We have the same equipment. We stayed in the same fortress of frost. We drank the same blood wine." William walked past with a stack of ledgers, looking remarkably smug about the news. "It is the interaction of Julian's ancient mana and Alex's outworlder status, Leo. It's a rare alchemical reaction. Now, please move, you're blocking the obstetrics section." Leo didn't move for 3 days. He brooded. He watched Julian carry Alex around like he was made of glass. He watched Julian feed Alex peeled grapes. And then, on the 3rd night, a dark, competitive thought popped into Leo's head. Leo marched into William's private study, slamming the door so hard a first edition manuscript fell off the shelf. William looked up, his expression cool and disciplined. "Leo, is there a reason you are vibrating with such aggressive energy? You're useless," Leo shouted, pointing a finger at the stunned archivist. William blinked, his Sigma composure momentarily shattered. "Excuse me, I am the most efficient cataloger in the hemisphere." "Not at that." Leo stomped his foot. "We had the same honeymoon. We went to the same fortress. But Alex is glowing and eating pickles, and I'm just here. Why is Alex pregnant and I'm not?" William's face went stiff. "Leo, as I explained, Julian is an emperor with 3,000 years of accumulated." "Oh, don't give me that magic mumbo-jumbo." Leo crossed his arms, his eyes narrowed. "Maybe Julian is just more capable. Maybe he has more energy. Maybe the Nightbringer actually knows what he's doing, while the High Archivist is just out of practice. You're just a cold book bat with no stamina." The air in the room didn't just turn cold, it turned heavy. William stood up, his chair sliding back with a predatory hiss. He removed his spectacles, placing them slowly on the desk. His eyes weren't their usual icy blue, they were a burning, midnight violet. "No energy." William's voice was a low, dangerous silk. "Out of practice." Leo's bravado wavered for a split second. "Yeah, Julian is. He's efficient. He got the job done. You're just." In a flash, William was across the room. He grabbed Leo by the waist, hoisting him over his shoulder like a sack of flour. "Hey, put me down. Where are we going?" Leo yelled, thumping William's back. "To the bedroom," William growled, his grip like iron. "Since you find my stamina lacking and my methods useless, I believe it is time for a thorough, practical demonstration. You wanted capability, Leo. I am going to show you exactly why they call me the keeper of the forbidden archives." In the royal suite, the scene was one of pure, honeyed sweetness. Julian was tucked behind Alex in their massive bed, his arms wrapped protectively around Alex's waist, his hand resting over the slight, magical warmth of Alex's belly. Do you think it'll be a boy or a girl? Alex whispered, leaning back into Julian's chest. I don't care, Julian murmured, kissing Alex's shoulder. As long as they have your spirit. I've already ordered the royal blacksmith to make a tiny, gold-plated candlestick. For their training. Alex laughed softly. A high-level candlestick monk in training. I love it. They drifted towards sleep, the palace quiet and peaceful around them. Crash. A muffled, high-pitched scream echoed from the east wing, specifically from William's quarters. William, stop. That's not. Ow. Okay, okay. You're capable. You're very capable. Julian sighed, pulling the covers higher over his and Alex's heads. I am going to have to double the soundproofing on the archivist's wing. Alex just giggled, snuggling closer into the warmth of his emperor. Let them be, Jules. Leo finally got exactly what he asked for. As the twin moons of the Obsidian Empire rose high, the system was a distant memory. There was only the future, full of babies, books, and the chaotic, eternal love of four people who had turned a tragic novel into a beautiful, messy reality. The end.